Welcome to MBU Football Coaches Show. My name is Guy Danoff, and we are joined with Coach B. Coach, big season opener here at Spartan Field as the Spartans defeat St. Ambrose 38-35. And I got to ask you, obviously, what was it like with the fans? We had nearly 1,000 people here. This place was complete mayhem, and certainly a big Spartan with victory. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere. We had a good idea that it would be, behind under the lights, home opener. But yeah, the way the fans turned out, the students turned out, it was awesome. And then being able to go out and really put on a show, that was something that I was really proud of and impressed with how our guys played. That was one of the things that we talked about is when the lights come on, it's showtime. And I felt like they really showed Spartan Nation how we've really been able to take steps over the years and really even kind of build off of last year.
Coach, where were your expectations going specifically into this game? We know on season openers, the Spartans were 1-10 coming in. So obviously you wanted to do something, put a dent into that stat. But what did you address the team before the game they got on the field?
Well, really just be ourselves. That we, I think going into week one, I probably get more nervous about week one than any other week, right? Because we don't have a lot of film. You don't know, who are the new pieces to the puzzle, right? Like what transfers did they bring in? What freshmen are they playing? So there's a lot of unknowns going into week one.
Right.
So for me, it's just really going out and focusing on who we are. And I think that's something that we stressed a lot throughout training camp and especially during game week is, get the nerves out of you when you go out there, take a look around because we're playing a lot of young guys and they played in front of a great atmosphere, great home fans. And, I really could be more proud of how we executed. I thought we eliminated mistakes and kept things pretty clean overall. And like I said, played at a pretty high level.
Well, you did. Kevin Paulson, I actually made mention, did not feel like a season opener at all like a mid-season game because you didn't have those, what we call, those senseless penalties, those offsides, some early holdings, or maybe even hit someone a little too late or something. You didn't have any of that. I mean, it was a very clean game.
Yeah, it was. And that's a credit to our guys and just kind of how we prepared them. But we put them in game situations a lot over the training camp. We knew we had an extra week. And we really focused on taking advantage of that, doing game situation type scrimmages and practices just to put them into that mindset. I think the other thing going in is you just don't know, like, how are you going to be when you finally hit a new team and how's your tackling going to be? Because not every day can we go live, And so we've put a big emphasis on tackling and being a good tackling team. And then the unknown is also, are you in game shape? There's been nights where, it's really hot and you're cramping. We had a little bit of that issue. Obviously the weather couldn't have been any better, but I felt like overall we were in really good shape and, our tackling and our toughness was pretty good as well.
Well, let's talk about a couple of spotlights. Jacob Jones, our quarterback, 26 for 43, 275 with one touchdown. He also rushed for 60 yards and had 2 touchdowns. And I know that we didn't make too much of a deal about his legs, obviously leading up to this game, but there's no doubt that he can hit you both ways with the arm as well as with the leg.
Yeah, he's so dynamic with that. And, we've had him here since spring ball and, kind of kept him under the radar a little bit. And, I think he showed Spartan Nation what we've been so excited about since the day he walked on campus back in January is just his dual threat ability. He throws a great ball. I think he threw some dimes out there to Gavin and, he hit Zayd Hamilton on the sideline on the third down. That was spot on. The first touchdown that he threw to Gavin down at the end of the score where the scoreboard was a tremendous throw. And we were kind of laughing about it. I told Coach Heck on the headset, I was like, it was like he had a remote because listening in, Coach Heck was like, rip it. And he drilled that touchdown.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, just the dual threat aspect of him just can change a game. And it's something that we haven't ever had.
Well, then you also look at Calvin Griffin. 93 all-purpose yards, including 76 yards rushing and 2 TDs, and that's also the compliment Lionel Banks. Like we've talked about, the running back position is so deep now, and again, great performance there. And then, of course, on the defense, Evan DeWild, your weak side linebacker, anchored the defense with a team-high 10 tackles.
Yeah, we got to get it fixed. It's actually DeWildy, but
DeWildy,
yeah, okay. we're going to make a blanket announcement to all Spartan is, but he did a tremendous job. And, where I'm really proud of Evan is Evan's a 4-year guy for us. Right. He's played a lot in special teams. He's kind of been a role player for us. But he's put in a lot of work. And, we've got a lot of depth at the linebacker position. And there's been some up and down during training camp where he got a little injured. And, he's best friends with Cade Beachside. So when Cade went down, he took that extremely hard. But, I remember, Cade sitting there, he looked at Evan, he's like, hey, it's our defense now. And I couldn't be more proud of that kid. Just the type of guy he is. He's a no-nonsense, shows up to work every day, and I couldn't be more proud of him to have the night that he had.
Yeah. Coach, one of the big stats that I made mention while we were wrapping up, the post-game show, and that was what you did on fourth down. You went 5 for 6 on fourth down, but on 5 of those conversions, 3 were for touchdowns. Coach, that is like rolling some dice here. Great play calling. You had so much confidence in your offense to do this. I wonder if you could speak to that, because going 5 for 6 on fourth down and getting 3 scores on it,
yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I mean, and we talked about that in our team meeting this morning, that just we got to be a little better on third down, obviously, to avoid some of those fourth downs. But when we're in those fourth and manageables and we're converting them at a high level, it just gives me all the confidence in the world to go do that. And I think one of the things going back to last year is that Coach Heck and the offensive staff has done a really, really good job of game planning for fourth down situations. Something we talk about as a coaching staff, and we're going to do it, but we used it a little bit more, and largely because I trust our offense. I know that they can get it done, but also, if we're going to be successful, we can't win games with punts on fourth and short. We can't win games with just field goals. So we've got to put it in their hands, and ultimately, I asked them, what do they want to do, and they want to go for it, and we're going to put it in their hands. And the time that we're not successful, the one time where they held us out of the end zone down on the 1 yard line,
right?
You know what, that's going to happen, and that's okay. Keep your head high. And we actually dealt with that in one of our situational scrimmages where the same thing happened, and they were all down and they were kind of upset. And, we just said, listen, that's a win. You put a great drive together. Right. You pin the other team to MD. Right. So let's look at that as a win. Let's celebrate that win and keep moving. And I thought I handled it excellent.
Well, Coach, again, congratulations on such an amazing victory. Again, 38-35 over St. Ambrose. Now, looking ahead, your Grandview on the road, taking on the number 1 team in the nation. And certainly, I think what makes them so, seriously, what makes them so unbelievably awesome?
Well, I think they're very well coached and they've got good talent. That's number one. I think the thing that, although they have a new head coach now, is their former head coach took the job at Drake in the offseason. But this guy's been on staff. He's, part of the program. I think going back, they've just been so tough. And, they're just a tough-nosed football team. They're going to do, pro style and line up and just one-on-one and go get their job done, So that's the biggest thing that stands out to me is just their toughness and physicality. And that's something that since we went up there and played back in 2023 has never left me. And that notion that, that I left to walk out that field and we were beat up and I go, listen, we've got to be a tougher, more physical team. Right. We've made changes over the last 2 years to put us in a position to go take on a team like Grandview.
Well, let's just go with the logic of follow-up then. How are you preparing your team, or what are you hoping to see from the Spartans as you go compete against the best team in the country?
Yeah, well, number one, it gets my blood boiling. I love it. And I told the team this morning that, how often, I don't care what level you're at, it's not very often that you get to play the number 1 team in the country. Right. So, that's just a great opportunity for us as an individual to go out and play against some of the best. And a defending national champ. And ultimately, that's where we want to get. So, it's something that we're going to stare right down the barrel. We ain't going to blink and go after it. We've got to match their physicality or exceed it. And ultimately, I hope we exceed it. That's something that we're going to focus on, not just for Grandview, but for the rest of the season, is just being a tough physically and mentally. And ultimately, I think it's a great barometer early in the season to see, what you're made of. You look at Texas and Ohio State, they come out right out the gates and, right. Both teams learned a lot from you about themselves. For us, we get a great win at home. sitting there 1-0, which is a great feeling. And then we get to go play the number one and really see, all right, what kind of team do we have? And it's early in the season. So, we can always continue to get better in the areas. And whether we win or lose, we're going to go and look at all the good and look at the things that we need to keep improving.
So no matter what are you drilling this week? Because I know every week you have a team, but what are you drilling into your team as you guys go take on the defending national champs?
Well, number one, like I said, toughness. I can't say that enough. We've got to continue to elevate that and be a tough football team. But I think the other side of it is, this morning I read him the story of David versus Goliath, out of the Bible. And, I think the big thing that stood out to me is that, in that story, they tried putting armor on David and they tried giving him a sword. And he said, no, I can't move. It's not who I am.
Right.
And he takes the armor off and he goes back to his slingshot and his rocks. Right. And I think the lesson there is that we don't have to do something special. We don't have to do something different than who we are. We just need to be us.
Right.
And, if us isn't good enough on that day, then so be it. But, we can't go and start doing all kinds of crazy things to say, oh, we're playing the number one team. Doesn't matter who, what logo is on the side of the helmet whenever we kick off, whether it's St. Ambrose, whether it's William Woods, or whether it's Grandview.
Right.
We got to go in approaching it the same way and be us. And that's what we got to do.
All right, Coach. Well, big game this weekend, of course. And what would you like to say to Spartan Nation, certainly for showing up, showing out, and certainly as they're going to follow you on the road on the Spartan Digital Network?
Yeah, just how appreciative we are of them coming out and supporting. That's always great. And, we look forward to their support, watching or whether they make the trip to Des Moines, but definitely building upon it and seeing an even bigger crowd when we're back home against Graceland in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. So for Coach Fee, my name is Guy Danoff. We want to thank you for watching here on the Spartan Digital Network.